This episode is brought to you by Tina's Vodka.
My name is Shetellia Riley Irving. I am the CEO of All Even Sports, and this is Her Table.
Now you see her.
You are magnificent!
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of Her Table. We are so fortunate. I'm so excited. My dear friend, Shetellia Riley Irving, is going to join us today. She is an executive in the music industry and ad industry, and she now wears a new hat for Kyrie Irving.
Not only is she Kyrie Irving's agent, but she also worked with BET for many years. We are so excited to have her in our new set in Las Vegas. Please welcome Shetellia Riley Irving to the show.
Good.
Thank you again for helping me pass that test.
I didn't do anything. I just told you what you need to hear, which was you were going to do it. Don't you look at
horrible.
Don't you look at people now and are like, how the fuck did you pass that test?
No. And I'll tell you why, because I hadn't taken a test in years. And so I remember taking it and I was like, this isn't so bad. Like, you had 3 hours and I finished it in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that little angel on my shoulder was like, girl, go back.
Check it again. Go back.
Really?
Check it again.
And
Check it
then
again.
what happened when you went back
I changed probably 80% of the answers.
Why?
Well, because the hard part is it's multiple choice and it's electronic.
Yeah.
So if it was written, you can cross out, I know this isn't true. I know this isn't true.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can get from 4 down to 2.
Right.
This is electronic. So you're always looking at the 4. And then you start second guessing yourself. And then you don't remember what you second guessed yourself with because you didn't cross anything out. So then you almost have to look at every question again.
Wow. Because for me, I don't know anything about the agency life, and it's so fascinating to me. So just like hearing about having to take a test, and then from there, like, what's the process like? And
Once you take the test, you're in.
Yeah,
Like,
once
if
you
pass.
but I think that we're taught to read headlines and blurbs.
Yeah.
And so what you're training yourself to do is not to read the headline and the blurb.
Yeah, you have to almost, you have to think they're trying to trick you.
Yeah.
And that was my key, was like, they give you 3 sentences, but you really only need 1. The 2 are meant to distract you. It's like set on fire, but we pay attention here. So you have to learn these things aren't true. Okay, well, what is it asking me to make this not true?
Right.
So it's almost like they're trying to trick you. But it's an interesting thing because you take the test and you pass the test.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. And I actually said to the MVPA the other day, I'm like, you guys need to have like a year-long like residency or follow along or something. It's hard to do because this business is so vindictive.
Yeah.
But like doctors don't just pass a test. Like lawyers don't just pass a bar and then they get to go.
And
like,
they're representing.
Yeah, you have to,
Right.
there should, because so many young people are taking this test, passing it, but they have 0 experience in business, in life, or understand the ecosystem of the MBA. And then they're just out there with the exact same credentials she and I have.
Yeah.
So you're like, we're the same, but we're not.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
hard. So for kids coming into the league to navigate, experience is one thing, but actual applied experience is another.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is got to continue to evolve. But
Yeah.
and I'm hoping with like Andrea Godala, he'll say like, we need to have a better process here. But it's just an interesting place to be because you pay a fee, you take a test, and then
You pay your fee every year.
and then you're in.
And regardless of if you have a client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
To
not.
keep your
Wow.
to keep it, you have to pay. But if you don't have somebody within 5 years, then
You have to take the
You have
test
to
over.
take the test
Oh,
over
wow.
because it's not applied.
But you can
so
still stay in it as an agent as long as you pay your dues. Wow.
So it's an interesting, and it's funny. I meant to ask, I don't think Katie would know, but like I don't know what the WNBA process is.
I thought it was just an application.
It could be.
After you've been an agent for 3, I thought it was an application after
Like
3
3
years of
years.
being an agent. I thought.
It's
Don't quote me on that because I'm still like.
Listen, somebody comes for me on every show, and I'm like, just stop, relax. I said it wrong. I don't
Right.
know. Like we're all humans. Relax.
Right.
But it's an interesting thing. So yeah, you can literally take the test, pass, and sign someone within days.
How cool.
with no experience.
None.
Well, I feel like for you too, you're in a very unique situation because you're representing Kyrie, and he's been like a son to you your whole life. He like is your son.
Yeah.
How's that been, and what's that like?
It is a high stakes game because I can't afford to fail. Like he's with me forever. There's not this situation of, all right, I'm going to fire you and that's that. And I don't see you for the holidays or birthday. Like you're
like
still
Yeah.
apart no matter what.
Right.
So I think there's more pressure managing somebody within your family versus managing somebody that's not. But that like there's no, it's not a, you walk away and that's it.
Yeah.
You're still connected.
Yeah.
It's hard though on the other side to the coin though, is like you also have the comfortability of like you have a lot more grace.
No.
But
I feel like it's more
I mean like
pressure.
It's more pressure.
you're not going to be destitute, put out, like can't survive. Like if it was someone that fired you, that was your only source of income. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is nice in that sense, but the pressure is there because the expectation is there.
Well, I think we as a family pretty much have our own.
Yeah.
Right? So when you think about it, whether or not it's his dad or me, I spent many years in media
Yeah.
and developed an entire career based off of ad sales.
Yeah.
So it's not like if he fired, you'd be destitute.
You won't. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You would still be okay just because I think, we have a ton of business experience. But I just, it always, I chuckle because people are like, oh, that is nepotism.
Why? Why do you think that is?
I just think people want to have something to say.
I agree.
I think it's easier to say it's not, people never want to give credit, especially when you think about women, credit to women for success, right? So when guys do it, it's like, yay, look at my boy, he did it. And
The
when
boys
it's a
club
woman,
cheers you on. Yeah.
When it's a woman, oh my God, she,
How did she do that? That's literally what it is.
Yep.
Well, how'd she do that? It's never like, I knew she could do it. It's
Right.
always, well, how did she do it? It's like
How
that
did she do it?
condescending, like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
Instead of like, hell yes, girl. You know what I mean? It's sad. And I think it's especially in a heightened situation with higher profile athletes, it's easier to be the how than the yes.
Or the why.
Yeah.
Because I think that when it's a guy, it's always the pat on the back. You did a great job.
Yeah.
When it's how, why, and are you qualified? And I hate getting that from women
I know.
because I think we're our strongest critics and we shouldn't be.
No.
Because we all know
how hard it is.
how hard it is. We've
How
all
hard it is.
experienced that, like that glass ceiling really does exist.
Yeah.
And when I hear women say,
Yeah.
well, is she qualified? I'm like, are you kidding?
Well, and
you
guess what?
kidding me?
If she's not, who cares? She did it anyways.
But we
Promote
allow,
her.
But we
Yeah.
allow men to be unqualified.
All
Like we
day
just
long.
had a conversation about men taking a test to become an NBA agent, and then 2 days later they represent somebody, and no one questions the qualifications.
Totally.
But
Totally.
in the case of a woman,
Right.
it's immediate. Is she qualified? What did she have to do?
Or
to
how
get
did she
this?
get that?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Like you had to pull
that's the
strings.
disappointing. Yeah.
Well, I do think like one of the things that's interesting, especially, and I can only speak from MBA, but I always find it funny, the recycle bin for men in this industry
Yeah.
is literally, it's like Houdini. You can have a colossal, fireable fuck up, go to the recycling bin for, 6 months, 9 months,
Yeah.
go get bounced around, cleaned off, whatever,
Yeah.
and then pop right back into the same or advanced role that you were in. And it's like, what?
That's not just the NBA.
But
Right.
It's in all industries. Like you see it in media, you see it in advertising, you see it in packaged goods, you see it. People, you look at them and you're like, how did you Can I ask why, how, and when, and what did you do?
Help me understand this.
Yes,
Yeah.
help me understand how you got here.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's this recycling.
It's recycling. And it's sad because I feel like it's the comfortability of recycling. Like we know, like if I look at franchises, right? They're like, okay, they built this franchise. So no matter what they did, right, wrong, or indifferent, everyone lives their own life. well, if they built it, then they should be able to build here. There's never a like, okay, let's find a different way. It's like, we're not worried about what happened over here. It won't happen here.
Right.
But I feel like for women, they're looking for what can happen.
I don't think they ever really think about giving us a chance.
Really? What makes you feel that way?
I think that we oftentimes are chosen because I sure don't want him. He definitely did. This one got a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, I'll just take her.
Yeah. Box checking.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that few people talk about is that when women lead, you see companies have success.
100%.
And people just, they never had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's this conversation of, like women turn things
We're
around.
problem solvers. We're intuitive. We build cultures. We're genuine. We have empathy.
Yep. Right.
And we look at everything through a lens of like, I'm always like, how can I bring people along? Not, is this going to dim my light? And I think that's as you climb a ladder, as you get to a place, even, I mean, you look at it in sports and you look at teams, even players are this way. Is this going to take away from what I can get, what I can contribute to? And you're seeing a shift now amongst players to take less or to build a better culture, situation, a winning franchise, because I firmly believe the true definition of a leader is what they leave, not what they get.
Exactly.
And when you can become that person, you look at things way differently.
Yeah.
Like someone asked me yesterday, Norris asked me yesterday, he goes, would you ever like quit your job and do the show full time? And I was like, no, the show isn't my job.
Right.
I have a job. I was like, he was like, well, what if you had to? I was like, then I would leave this for the next me. I'm just building this for the next me. This isn't Kate. This is a show that I happen to host, not the definition of who I am. And I think it's taken a long time for me in my career to understand that it's what you do. It's not who you are. And this industry requires so much. You get lost in it so fast that you're like, I'm okay not doing that now. I'm okay not having to jump through 87 hoops. I know I'm good. I don't need you to tell me which hoops to jump through. Like 6 + 6 is 92. Yes, it is.
And I think that's the evolution of life.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Is that I think if you talk to me in my 20s, I think I was striving because I was in radio, and it was the challenge of being in New York City. I was born and raised in Houston, had no family there, and surviving in an industry that was not favorable towards people of color and people of color that were female. And so a lot of that was trying to prove the naysayers wrong. Yeah. After that, I was like, you know what? You got to meet people where they are. Yeah. This is who I am. Yeah. And I've become super unapologetic as I've gotten older.
When do you think you hit that mark? Because our listeners always ask us, like, when's the turn?
I will never tell my age. People with all of the data breaches could probably look it up. But
I'm sure, girl, you're on Wikipedia now, so just stop it.
No, I would never tell my age.
No, when I saw you, I was like, I don't know what I expected, but I'm like, is she like, how old is she? Is she my age? Like, you look amazing. I don't know.
Thank you. But I think in probably my mid-40s, I had this metamorphosis. Yeah. And started to think about life and things differently, because I think in your mid-40s, you hit this space of looking back. Right? Because you're like, you're moving forward, right? Yeah. You're like, I'm trying to accomplish this. I'm raising a family. I'm raising kids. I'm doing all of these things. And so in my mid-40s, I was like, okay, everything seems to be going in the right direction. Let me look back and let me kind of look at where were some of the mistakes I made? How could I have done things differently? And if I had done those things differently, would I have been happy with the way my life would have been? And so
it's not like reflection period, right? Where you oftentimes, and I have those, I'm like, holy shit, I did that? Because you're in it and you don't realize it. Like,
it's a storm.
So, right. And you're either going into a storm or you're coming out of a storm, but there's always a storm. And so trying to navigate that and then navigate not only yourself, and a woman in a male space is always hard because you're under the microscope. So you're not even really paying attention. You're just trying to survive.
Correct.
Like, I'm not thriving at certain points in my life. I was just surviving.
Correct.
Now I want to thrive. Like, I'm done with surviving. I'm good. Like, someone else can do it better. have at it?
So I haven't gotten to the survival.
Okay.
Because I am deeply competitive.
Okay.
And I had to accept that, even though I'm a person that I play volleyball, but I just play volleyball to keep the team alive. I didn't play volleyball because I knew how to play volleyball. Like my best friend at the time in high school, and we just talked about this. She was like, girl, I'm joining the volleyball team. And they needed one more person to essentially make the team functional. And I was like, all right, I'll come with you. And I would sit on the bench and watch and what have you. But I am deeply competitive. And that was something that I had to accept about myself because I didn't understand that, right?
Yeah.
Because you're taught or you believe that as women, we should take what we're given.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no. Like, I deserve this seat at this table. And I have ethics, so I'm not going to do anything to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
But I know I'm smart enough.
Yeah.
I know I'm strategic enough to have this seat at the table. And it's not what I deserve. It's what should happen.
Yeah, I've earned
because
it.
I've done the work.
Yeah, you've earned it.
Right.
You don't deserve it. You earn it.
Right.
Right. And then once you're there, it's how can you help the next person
Exactly.
earn it? And I think that's what's interesting. What's been one of the most in your career? What's been one of the most proudest moments that you've had? And it can be in any scape, right?
I've had a few. I'm trying to think proudest.
Or like the one you feel like you accomplished, you didn't expect yourself to at a certain, like, you know what I mean? Like you didn't grow up saying like, I'm going to do this.
No.
You had it.
No.
And you're like, I did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there are two that are like this. And I think the first one was moving to New York and surviving.
When did you do that?
That was in 1994.
How old were you?
Kate's trying to figure out the age right
No,
now.
I'm not.
That's what she's trying to do,
not
right?
even, oh my God. I'm not even that good at math.
I was like-
Everybody relax. I'm not that good at math.
I was negative 20.
She was
in
just thinking about,
1994.
God was just thinking about putting you on this earth.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was just like all of these like atoms were coming together, right? But it was sort of moving here and figuring it out.
Yeah.
And
New
just
York's a tough place to do that in. Oh my God.
It is a concrete jungle.
Yeah.
And just figuring it out and being able to thrive in an environment where I didn't go to high school with these people. I didn't go to college with them. I didn't know them since I was 2.
It's a different culture too.
It's totally a different culture. And there were just people along the way that embraced me and made sure that were vested in my success.
Right.
And so I'm always, whenever I do these types of interviews, I always try to pay homage to them because they didn't have to, whether or not it was the family that befriended me in Staten Island when I first moved here. And the Pierre family. Like I moved here and I was basically homeless. And I always tell this story because I followed love. I was in love with this guy and followed him. And I'm not going to get into that because he's not here to defend himself because I'm sure he has a different story of what happened. But
it's the biggest mistake of his life. So whatever it is, it's his own loss. So.
Well, no. Well, I just think that as a woman, one of the things that you learn is pillow talk. And I was just like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Out the pillow talk.
Yeah.
And so moved here and was homeless. And that family really, without knowing me or knowing anything about me, gave me a place to stay.
Wow.
And so they were a part of the foundation in which I built from a career perspective. And the second thing is what I've done and have been able to help Kyrie with. In his career.
That's amazing.
And so those are the two things that go back and forth, but I think they're all connected because it was God's purpose. Because who would have thought, like, you're moving to New York on Friday the 13th on a one-way ticket from Houston. I don't know why I did this. That stopped in 3 different cities to follow love. And like multiple 30 years later, this is where you are. So it was God's plan.
I'm in the NFL space.
Okay.
And so for me, like when I saw Nicole Lynn, who is Jalen Hurts' agent.
Love her.
And I start to see more and more diverse women starting to like really take on these roles. What's that been like for you, and how are you going to kind of encourage the next girl who's looking at you and is like, I want to be the next you?
I have to lead by example. So one of the things I tried to do was be everybody's mentor. I was like, call me. And then it became overwhelming because you found that most of your time was spent trying to
Help other people.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm trying to build a business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for now, it's about leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some people that I find time to mentor, but you end up realizing that the 30 minutes that you initially gave them becomes 2 hours, which becomes 8 hours. And then when you add it up, you're like, I need to spend this time like recruiting and bringing new people in and bringing new opportunities in. So for now, it's really to lead by example. It's having conversations with women like you, right? Sharing of resources, because I'm really big about being as collaborative as humanly possible. I think that there is more than enough. I think that we all can sit at the table and have a big feast and eat for days. I'm not trying to hoard. You're not trying to hoard. You're not trying to hoard. So as much as we're able to kind of share and collaborate, I think it takes us to the next level. I think that pushing for not just equality on the agent side, but when are we going to see female GMs? When are we going to see female coaches in male-oriented sports, right? On a professional level.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's always interesting because, you know, I have this thing, if you can see her, you can be her. And I feel like as women, we've become a lot better. And this show's actually pushed me to be better about it. But you have to celebrate yourself and share your story and share your struggle, because somebody could be going through the same thing you went through at some point in your life and is like, okay, if she got through it, I can get through it, right? Or like, I never looked at it that way. But we're oftentimes taught to mute ourselves. And in a room, you might have to raise your hand 5 times to get called on.
Different for me.
More?
Different. And I'll tell you why. So, I say this often. I work with Black Entertainment Television as a television executive selling ad space. And it was the best PhD, PsyD, doctoral, bachelor's, MBA, master's, legal degree I could have gotten during my tenure there because, A, not only did they throw you into the fire and make you swim, fly, and figure it out. But they also taught you about pride and pride of who you are and what you stand for and the community that you represent.
Do you feel like it's the same in the NBA, though?
NBA, no.
Right.
But I have a background where when I'm standing and I'm looking at giants, I'm not afraid.
And I think that's what's so and we talked earlier about agents and how it's not easy to become an agent. It's quite difficult. But to be a successful one requires almost an evolution of yourself, because you are now, we're both in it, you're in a boys' club. Yeah. More so than ever.
But I don't see it as much. And this is, and I know I'm interrupting, I apologize. I just can't go in, even though you know it's there. You can't always go in and say, I know that this is a boys' club. I'm just like, I'm here.
And I think that's fair. And I think
I have come. I am here. I have arrived. And they look at me like, what? She must be a boy. she got a lot of confidence. Right?
No, but it's a different, and I think that's why my point is like, that's why speaking up about the experiences and ways they can change, improve, or how to carry yourself. Because no one's in a class teaching you, when you walk in a room, you command a presence. If they can see you, they should be able to feel your energy. And you can. And I can feel other people's, where I'm like, I'm not going over there. That ain't for me. But like, no one teaches young people this. And so that's why when you're in a space where you can share and get people to understand that where you're at, where I'm at, did not come easy.
Came from experience.
Exactly.
You had experience.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Like your resume is amazing. So you had experience well before you became an agent.
Correct.
Right? And so I think it's that experience sort of propels you and prepares you to represent athletes, because you already know no one is going to sit down and say, hey, I'm going to prepare this place for you. I'm going to give you 10 different athletes. Right.
Yeah, you're going to have to find a way.
Yeah.
But that's what's so hard for me with young women, because I see them want to be in this space.
Yeah.
And even young men. but it's not easy to get into it. And so I always find, like I said, like, how do I show you, like, yes, I'm here and I'm happy I'm here, but there's still days I still fail. There's still days I get it wrong. There are days that I'm like, try again tomorrow.
Yep.
Because it's often now get there fast, not and it's a quick turn, right? I want to get there so fast, but I don't want to learn and seek to understand how to get there so I can stay there.
Right.
I just want to get there. They don't care how to get there. And I'm like, no, I want to get there, but I want to get there the right way, my way.
And stay there.
And stay there. And I think that's what I think young people have to understand is the quick fix isn't going to keep you there.
Right.
It's just going to get you there.
But I think that's this generation.
It is.
Like, and I think that as a parent of this generation, we probably didn't do right. I think there's some shortcuts that we did that did not benefit. But I think that we're in this real social environment where you can create a funny video and all of a sudden you're a superstar.
Yeah.
And everybody knows your name and it can come overnight. Versus
for the wrong reason.
For the wrong reason.
Right.
And for us, it wasn't, we didn't have social. Social was not the foundation of our career. It was, you had to get to work on time. You had to be responsible. You had to turn it like you had to do.
You have to communicate.
So many different things. And you had to understand when it's time to wait your turn. And you had to understand the politics and and you had to be strategic. And you had to know that an action could push you out
It's
or push you further, right? There was a consequence to it.
Yeah.
And I think that just today, because it's so easy to become a household name,
Right.
for the good or bad, a lot of younger people are like, I want it now.
Yeah.
Because I see somebody that is not as talented as I am, is not as smart as I am, but look at who they are now. And so that I don't think that process that we went through.
But it's hard because heavy is the head that wears the crown could be not truer in this world because you are now a reflection of Kyrie. Kyrie is now a reflection of you.
Yep.
He has had highs and lows and everything in between. At what point did it transition for you from my stepmom to we're going to build a business, become an agent? Like, I don't think you just woke up one day and were like, I'm going to try this on today.
No.
When did that transition happen and why was it so pivotal for it to happen in that moment?
He gave me a call and said, I love your business acumen. So when he was a kid, I would bring him to my place of work. So he sat in a radio station, right?
Wow.
He sat in the booth. He actually saw it. He just shared some things that happened in the booth and I'm like, oh my God, that wasn't the lesson I wanted you to learn. But I wanted you to learn like what I did for a living, not sit there and just be playing on the mic. That's not what I wanted you to do. But
that's funny.
He called me and he said, I appreciate your business acumen. And I've watched what you were doing. I would love for you to represent me. And my first, he said, how much would it cost for me to take you from BET? And I said, you can't afford me. Because you really can't put a price on a labor of love.
I say that to so many people all the time. Like, yeah, great idea. But like you also don't realize the work that it takes for you to sacrifice what you've built to rebuild something else.
Right.
It
was... For me, at that moment in time, I built this career.
That's what I'm saying. Like you've worked so hard to reach your goals. Yeah. Now you're being asked to help someone else reach their goals.
But when it's your child,
it's different. I can't imagine.
It's
like, what if you said no?
Different.
Would that have changed your relationship or not?
You know what? I don't know.
I want to ask him. I'm gonna be like, hi. Like, if she had said no,
I think he
would
would
you
have
chased her? I think he would have chased you.
I think he would have chased me.
You.
Depend on the day. Depending on what's going on that day. He may say absolutely not. But
that's such a testament to how much he respects you. That he sought you out to be his agent.
But I think when we kind of walked down this road, it was the opportunity to learn from each other.
Yeah.
And for me, and I said to him, I don't know this space. Like I started out, I was never an athlete. I've never played on a basketball team. I have never, I didn't, there's so many things that I had to learn very quickly. But it was really about us teaching each other and him teaching me the sport and the business of basketball, and me trying to weave in the business of life and running a business and leading a team and doing those things.
I think some people would probably ask this question of, it's wild to me that I've known Kyrie since he was 15. And I'm not telling you how old I am either, but I'm sure they can go look him up and then do the math and then the numbers there. But to watch the evolution of him and truly over the last couple of years in evolution, were you a part of driving the evolution of him in a sense that it was an accountability or an empowerment?
I think who Kyrie is today is who Kyrie has always been.
Mm-hmm.
And I always believe that there are environments that you do phenomenally well in.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some environments, and this is in any business organizations, where you can stink up the room. It just does not work.
It doesn't serve you.
It just doesn't serve you.
Yep.
And so he is no different. I think that, he's just grown up. He has more experience under his belt. Like he's made mistakes.
Yeah.
He's owned up to those mistakes. But I think the core of what you're seeing is what he's always been.
Yeah.
I think it's, for both of us, we always talk and understand and learn from each other. And, what do you think of this? Oh, I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're thinking, you're bringing these guys in at 19.
Right.
19.
Or 18 this year.
Right.
There's
Well,
18.
Yeah, I forgot about that. 18.
Yeah,
18. And so if I thought about what I was doing when I was
At 18 with a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the world is your oyster.
And no one tells you no.
Yeah.
And no one is leaning in, even from an agent perspective. There aren't many agents, and they probably don't have the capacity to say, all right, let me give you
That's what I was going to ask you was like
all the tips.
And you have a unique dynamic where you can tell Kyrie no. There's a lot of people in this league that their agents can't tell them no.
Oh, I would tell.
Totally.
No matter who I represented, I'd be like, you're not going to do that.
No, we're not doing that. But it takes this person who's confident, or a woman that's confident in what they know to be true and what the outcome and goal needs to be, to not be afraid to be the one no. Like, I'm all day. If I tell you yes, you better thank the lucky stars, because it's far and few between.
Yeah.
Because what you've asked me to do is help you get where you want to go, not enable you to limit yourself of where you can go.
Yeah.
I think these guys and girls are told from a very young age that they're phenoms.
Yeah.
Right? So within your community, within your state, within your region, you're a phenom. And I think that it's very hard when you look at this person as a financial outcome.
You're a line item.
You're like, I
You're a
need this
P&L.
money. Right.
You're a P&L.
I need this P&L to make the business go. So I'll just deal with the consequences later on.
Right.
Because as an agent, you're tied into that contract. So you're like, as long as that money come in, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to build a good human.
Right.
And I think that's the difference is there's very few agents. That's what I am. I want you to be an amazing person who happens to be talented, not a talented person who's an asshole and can't figure it out. Two different things, but different stages, ages. But there's also other agents, they don't want to care. They don't care for good people. It is a hamster wheel. They just want to make money. And if they fire you, great. If you stay with me forever, great.
But does the attachment become too great?
Sometimes I think, I would say this, sometimes yes. Sometimes I think when you don't have enough confidence, you will oftentimes say like, okay, just not going to speak up because I don't want to rock a boat. Or I am going to speak up because I feel like I have to. You have to have enough experience to know when to say something, when not to say something. Like I say to my team all the time, we might need to have a conversation, and I might choose to have it 2 days from now. Because the environment is going to be better received than in the heat of the moment.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to learn, and I failed feverishly at it. But it also allows you to kind of collect yourself, because this business is hot, cold, up, down, sideways. But sometimes you can be like too involved, and I think that's where you have to remember that. And I said this to Melissa on my team, like, I can't want it more than they want it. I literally can't. Like, I can set you up for success. I can get you opportunities, but this is your dream, not mine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to work hard, like one of my guys took an optional day and he said, well, if you wanted me to go to the gym, you should have told me. I said, well, do you want to tell me to do my job? That's what I looked at him and said. And he was like, no. I was like, well, I don't want to tell you to do yours.
Right.
And in his mind, he was like,
Made
I'm like,
sense.
he's like, holy shit, you're right. But he had never had to look at it through the lens of this is his job.
Right.
Because no one's ever told him. It's just been like, oh yeah, whatever you want to do. Cool.
This is a game that he loves.
Yeah. It's a game he loves or, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when someone says to me the other day, how was your workout? It was fun. Well, so is working at Chuck E. Cheese. Like two different lanes. So I think you're just in such a unique place and time that as this business changes, you're really at the leading front of it. I mean, you were the only, correct me where I'm wrong, only African-American female agent representing.
Not now. I found there's some Gigi Jackson.
Who's Gigi Jackson?
He is a rookie for
Oh, I know who Gigi is, but
Memphis.
who's his agent?
His mom.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I just found that out. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We need to be having that
I
conversation.
love
Yes.
that.
Right.
But here's the thing. No one talks about it. So it's like,
Yeah.
if you can see her, you can be her.
Right.
But no one
Yeah.
talks about it. So
Yeah.
I think like even from me to you, I'm like, I want to find more of these people and be like,
Right.
great,
Right.
how can we help you? What can we serve? Like we've been
How can
through
we
some
collaborate?
shit.
Right.
How can we help you beat the roadblock or navigate a person
Right.
unblindedly, right? So that
Right.
you can find it. But it's hard. This industry is hard to trust. Do you find that? The agent world is hard to trust. That's the one thing I don't think
I
will
don't
ever
expect
change.
it.
Really? Maybe I'm just holding on to hope.
It's business, right? I think that if we look at the last economic cycles of the United States, it used to be our parents. They worked at a job for 30, 40 years. They retired. They had their pension, and they lived a fairly decent life, right? When I think about, the young adults now, they saw the crisis, the housing crisis in 2008.
Yep.
They saw from their high unemployment, they saw so many different things that happened.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that whole idea of what the American dream looked like, you worked hard, you took care of your family, you had your house, you had your car, you went on your 1-2 vacations a year, and you were just, and your kids went off to college and
Perfect,
everything
yeah.
was fabulous, doesn't exist. And so for now, it's like, I understand and I get that this is a business.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Well, from like a trust standpoint, I've always been a fan of Kyrie because he always stays true to himself. And like you said, he's always been himself. So when it comes to trusting, like I'm talking about even like in the media, landscape where Kyrie has made statements and then it kind of gets twisted or blown out of proportion, or people just don't agree with what he's saying, but he's staying true to himself. How do you then manage that with Kyrie? Like, do you talking to him and
Which hat are
talking
you
to the
wearing
media?
first?
Yeah.
Which
And how
hat
do
are
you
you wearing?
separate being?
I wear the business hat first.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I was
wear the business
expecting
hat
her to
first.
say mom first.
I wear the business hat first.
I need to be more like her.
Yeah.
Here is the thing. If somebody, it's with anyone, like your friend, your kids, or whatever, when you see that stranger danger, be super careful, understand how things are being interpreted, right? And there are people, like, especially in this world, and like, I don't have this expectation that I can walk in and I'm like immediately trusting people, because I also understand they have a job and they have a family, and that's why. And they're not going to come in and say, I'm going to put Shetellia and her family ahead of mine. They're going to come in and say, I'm going to put my family ahead of hers. And I'm going to do what I need to do to take my family to the next level. So when you talk about trust is you're not going to do anything to hurt me. I'm not going to do anything to hurt you. And if that means that you don't put your family to the next level, then we're okay, because that's where the trust comes in.
Right.
And that's why I lean in with, I don't walk in saying, I can 100% trust, because I know that at the end of the day, when it comes down to my family or yours, who are you going to choose?
Right.
How do you have that conversation though with Kyrie? Like she was saying,
I have
like,
that conversation all the time. I have the conversation with everyone.
But I mean, like in those moments where it's like, I call those in my career like the oh shit moments. How do you navigate? How you control that? Like
You can't. And I think that as much as you may try to, we live in a soundbite world.
Yeah. No context is what I call it. Yeah.
And so I can sit down and say, the purple curtain is so enlightening to me. And I feel every time I watch it or I look at it, it signifies that I'm going to be super rich. Somebody's going to take a soundbite and say, she says purple curtains make her super rich.
Yep.
But how does it's in Megan's in this media industry, and she just finished with the Seahawks with these young guys coming in.
Yeah.
What and how do you encourage at your agency? How do you encourage these young guys?
We try to go through questions. Like, these are all of the questions that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right? And if you have to listen first to the question, because I think that the questions are thrown out.
Right.
And oftentimes they're just like, I heard 3 words of the question and I'm going to answer the 3 words. And I'm always like, if it gives you uncertainty in your gut, it is okay to say, next question, please.
Or please repeat that. I always say, if you're not sure what they asked you, don't assume your brain processed that appropriately. Say, like, can you ask that again? Or I'm so sorry, I didn't understand the question. Because I feel like nowadays, especially, the lead, when they come in the football, Megan, they come in at 20,
21.
Yeah.
And in the NBA, it's 18.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of them, their families are the circus. They're not, and that's what's really hard, is because you don't want to rock the boat with mom and dad. They have this idea of what their life is going to be like when you turn pro and have no qualm about what that means for you. And the pressure from a mental health perspective is so small, because it's a lot of pressure to now. You're 18 years old supporting an entire family.
Of cousins and friends.
And you're not, and it's funny because I heard somebody say the other day that everyone talks about generational wealth and they want generational wealth. But so many people don't actually understand that generational wealth means forward, not backwards. And it's an interesting concept, because when you go, everybody wants to go with you.
Yeah.
But you can't, you're going to run out of time, space, energy, and money bringing everybody, as opposed to building for the next one.
Yeah.
How are you guys navigating that? You just made a huge change. Well, not really a huge change, but I think it's a huge change to Anta. You went with a company that has had some success with some athletes. Kyrie's now the creative director.
Chief Creative Officer.
Chief Creative Officer. So what is that? A CCO?
Yes.
I'm like trying to count the letters. I'm like, the what? The CCO. But like, he's heavily involved in things. And I think, when he split off from Nike, that's where I first met you guys, was when he was through the circuit. That was a bout shift that was made, and one that he now has more control over things. Was that the reason for the change, or was that a combination of the change?
I'm going to say both, reason and combination.
Okay.
So he is super creative. And I think that's what you find with a lot of these athletes, which is so astonishing, is they're probably the most creative people on the planet. But they're only seen for their ability to kick, throw, and catch a ball. You don't, like, if you're like, I'm going to put you in the studio and hear you sing, you're like, oh my God, you sound like an angel. Right? Right? You're like, all right, write something for me.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things people don't know, and he'll probably kill me for saying this, he's one of the best writers I've ever.
Like
Kyrie?
Like,
he's one
lyrical
of the best
writing or like novel writing?
Novel, lyrical. He's one of the best writers.
Wow.
I used
Hidden
to try
talent?
to, like, and he would never do it. I was like, I'll pay you if you write my presentation. No. But like, he's like an amazing.
That's so cool.
Amazing writer.
Has he always been?
Always been. Since he was a kid. Always been. Always been. He, like, we'll go through a presentation and I'm like, all right, Kai, look at this and let me know your thoughts. And I said, you are not about to critique me unless you're going to write it yourself.
Yeah.
So we're going to roll with this, okay? Because we're not doing all of that, okay? But he, like, just amazing talent. But going back to the reason, for when you are that creative, you wanted to think completely out of the box. And it's very hard to do that with a company that is already established.
Right. You're in their box.
You're in their box. And so essentially, for them, it's like, you know what? It's uncomfortable to go in and to say, we want to make sneakers that look like this or feel like this. Because what our success has been for years and years and years is sneakers that look like this. And Anta allowed that because they allowed him and his creativity to come through. And that was something that was super important as we talked about what does a sneaker deal or partnership look like for you? Let's put money and all of those things aside. What's important?
What needs to be
and
true.
That's what we built, and that's what we were able to build with Anta.
And what's that like working with the different brands, the ones that work the best with Kyrie or work the best with you? You know, are you seeking them out? Are they seeking you guys out? And then what's like the license and how do you guys, come up with those contracts?
So for us, he's very particular because he's not I'm going to just co-sign something for a check.
Right.
It has to mean something to
Has he
him.
always been that way, or is this always?
Always.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between I can't be one of those ages that's like,
Yeah.
because for him, it's like it has to mean if I am getting behind something, it's because it's something that I would organically do and not
Or something
just
you want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just because there's a check involved.
And the cool thing about your situation is that you want the best for Kyrie.
Right.
Whereas other agents, maybe not, they want the check and they're not going to look out for
Well,
their
in
player.
some, and I don't want to make it like all agents are bad because
Right.
I think because
We're the best in here. We're just going to go out and say it. We're the best. I love it.
So here's what I think. I think that people respond to what their clients tell them.
Yeah.
And so when you talked about the generational wealth and you have a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid who is, I'm carrying my mom, my dad, my siblings, my whatever, for them, it's important. Like this makes the difference. So now I can tell my dad to retire. And they're not thinking about, let me not take this deal right now because I'm super creative and I want something that makes sense for me. And then they just may not have the time. Like it is a lot of time doing what it is I do with Kai and Anta, and because there's a whole business side behind it. It's not just you get this beautiful sneaker and that's that.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's involved.
But it's an interesting, this business and this landscape continues to change. And I think it's back to where this all started, is when you can have a great leader that will teach you a new way to do something.
Yeah.
Not just, well, this is how it's always been done. Well, this is, if you're a product of environment a lot of times. And I think sometimes people come into the sports world and are like, okay, I'm going to be this way and I'm going to be an asshole because my boss was an asshole to me. And that's the only way I know how to get people to do what I want them to do. But when they have another boss or another leader that has a different perspective, a different approach, it's like, holy shit, you got them to do something by empowering them instead of beating them down. And I think that's where
people leadership comes into play.
Exactly.
Like you don't love all of your kids the same way. You recognize with your kids, this is one kid is going to need a lot of hand-holding and attention. This is another kid who is very independent, so I have to give them independence. Even with managing people, I had to learn, like there were people, I want you to make a lot of money. I want you to do this. And they were like, that's not what I just want to come
and you're
to work.
like, but I want this for
day.
you. You don't want it. And you're like, I want you to advance. I want you to be a manager. And they're like, I'm
I don't
good.
want that.
I'm 9 to 5.
I'm good with taking whatever my weekly check is. I'll take a little bit more if it happens, but I'm not trying to do any more. And so you have to really learn how to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And to see not what you want them to see or what you think their potential is, but what they see their potential really is.
And sometimes you got to let people have what they want. That's the hardest part for me in any business I've ever been involved in, is sometimes you can't want it for people who don't want it for themselves, because you're going to drive yourself nuts trying to bring them along, and then you get frustrated. Why aren't you doing this? Why is this so hard for you? And it's like, look, you want it, it's here. If you don't, you don't. It's not your responsibility to create for everyone. It's your responsibility to demonstrate for everyone what the opportunity is. So like if I'm going to work hard, I want you to see me working hard. Not I'm going to tell you to work hard. So you have to lead by example, but you also have to lead by character, principle, and moral.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to change the business.
Yeah.
Not a person, but the dynamic, right, is what it's going to be. Which is just, again,
I still want female GMs. I still want female coaches. And I'm not saying WNBA. I'm talking about within the NBA.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like,
I agree.
I can't wait to celebrate the day that a female GM.
I hope it's me one day. That's one of my dreams.
To be a GM.
I want you to have it.
Yeah.
I want you to have it. I'll be sitting there cheering the minute it comes out.
Good, right? She could be over there with her sign. She'd be like,
Exactly.
I know her. Yeah.
I'm on my way.
Yeah.
No, I just feel like there's still that old boys club that's transitioning out, and we're seeing this new wave. But I think there are guys that have been in this business.
Yeah.
There are guys that are 75, 78. Like at a certain point, they've got to make, because there's only so much space.
Yeah.
So I like seeing them lean in. There's one guy I want to ask you about, Stu Benson. You've talked about him. And we talk a lot on the show as we wrap it up about men that have leaned in for women and seen potential in them before they saw it in themselves.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Stu.
So he was my manager at 1010 Wins when I worked in radio. He's no longer with us. He's transitioned. And he took, I remember the first, I negotiated my way in to be a salesperson. Now, this was a 100% commission job. And so for the first 3 months, you got a small draw. And I think the draw, and a draw is just like a little bit of cash. And I think it was maybe $2,000 a month, right? And he didn't know this, but I had a part-time job. So I worked at a bakery at night, Greenberg Desserts, to supplement, because rent in New York is high, very expensive.
Insane.
Right? So I would leave there at 7 o'clock at night, walk into Hell's Kitchen, before Hell's Kitchen was the sexy Hell's Kitchen that it is now, and work at this bakery until like 10, 12 o'clock at night and get on the subway and go home. But Stu really believed in me so much. And really invested and would call me into his office. And at first, when he called me into his office, I was like, what does he want?
Right.
And it took me some time to realize that he was making this real investment into me. And
That's
so
beautiful.
for him, I appreciate, because he didn't have to.
Right.
He really didn't.
Saw a
So
lot
he
of
was
potential.
good. Yeah, he saw it.
And he knew it.
Yeah. He and it was just not just you're great at the job or you're going to be successful at the job. It was just your overall self-esteem, because being a salesperson is one of the hardest things. Like you have your highs and your lows.
Dude,
Right.
I don't even understand that. That's just a lot.
It was, and so on those lowest days, he'd be like, come in here, kiddo. Come in here, kiddo. Let's talk. So he was a good egg. He was a good egg. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. What's next for you?
Signing more players,
Yep.
which I'm super excited about.
Yep.
Really establishing All Even Sports as a real, and I don't want to say real agency because that sounds bad, but just as a big force.
Yeah, established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out here.
Yeah.
And doing things different and being creative and thinking outside the box and not just doing what everybody expects, but shocking the world a little bit in a good way.
I love that.
I love a little good bad shock. It's good, a little spicy if it's if the ultimate plan's planned out. I love that. We're going to close the show out. You've been an amazing guest. We have two things. What's your fit for success? Because mine's Good American. Megan, I've converted her, I think, to Good American.
I love these jeans.
I'm
Good
telling you,
American
Khloe Kardashian, I love
those jeans.
sorcery in them. Go get them, girl.
I'm going to get them.
The
I love
sorcery
those
in these jeans.
I'll let you know if it's some sorcery because I'm going to buy them and walk through the hotel. And if I
Do it. Do it.
I'll let you know if there's some sorcery.
Do it. There is. Because I'm like, you feel a kind of way. What is your fit for success? Like, what do you put on when you need to feel more powerful than you are
suit.
internally? See, I love that too. I have
Power suit. Wow.
I have a power
Pantsuit.
suit. Yep. I love a good pantsuit. I have a nice hot neon Barbie pink one from Good American that is like show stopping.
Yeah.
But like, you feel it kind of, you put that on and you can tell me no wrong.
Nothing.
Like, don't care. Thank you, and kind of thing. I love that. I so love that. Okay, last thing we have for you, Tina's Vodka. We're going to send you home with one of our partners, woman owned.
Okay.
non-GMO,
It's gluten-free.
gluten-free,
Okay.
organic,
Okay.
no hangover,
Okay.
because it has no corn syrup in it.
Okay.
It's the only one that is non-GMO.
Okay.
So
Appreciate that.
You know you need a little good martini.
Although I don't really drink,
Oh, no.
ironically, but listen, I do accept gifts. So thank you.
Listen, somebody you know might need one. You'd be like, I got the thing.
Because somebody will come to the house and
Yep.
I'll be like, "Ooh, Tina saved my life."
Tina said.
Tina saved my life.
So she has, these are just fun questions. It's just for our listeners to be able to get to know one little thing about your personality. No idea what's in here.
Okay.
So this
All
is going
right,
to be fun.
Tina.
Tina.
Let's see. Oh, I picked out.
Tina said answer a couple.
I know, but I'm going to only do one, and it's upside down. Do you prefer mountains or beaches? This is such an interesting question. So Tina is telling me beaches.
Beaches.
Yeah.
Okay. Vacation vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a beach. I love the sound.
Mhm.
I'm really into like
I'm very
sound
at
bowls
peace.
and meditation.
Yeah.
And I feel like God talks to you through the waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love, one of my favorite places on earth is the beach, where you can see the horizon meet the sea, because it's magical, because it's not the same place every time.
Yeah.
But it looks exactly the same.
Yeah. You
It's
see God's
comforting.
best work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love that.
although mountains are great too.
Yeah.
But I think a beach, you get a chance to witness God's because he's.
See,
I just
don't
think
know.
he speaks to you.
I've been to Utah and seen some beautiful godly mountains. So,
Mountains,
you
yeah.
know,
No, I just think he speaks to you through the waves if you just sit and listen.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for
thank
having
you.
me.
Oh my gosh, of course. You're amazing. You feel good?
I feel great. No
Blessed.
complaints. No
Blessed.
complaints.
Blessed. Good.
Thank you.
That was such a great episode.
Oh my gosh. She is amazing.
She's iconic. Like, iconic comes to mind
Yeah.
when I think of her. She's just so poised, so graceful. She's so strong. Like, I
Right.
could just feel her presence in this room. And
Right.
it's funny because seeing her in this lens now as Kyrie's agent and also his stepmom. When I met her for the first time a long time ago, she was just his stepmom. And so now seeing how much she's grown into this role and how our relationship has changed and morphed
Yeah.
as we've gone through this journey of my career, her career, and now we wear the same hats as NBA agents is really cool. And I love it because I wish there were more. And I think between Shetellia and I, we're just going to create more. We're just going to
love
create
it.
more.
No, it's so great to see. And even just hearing her journey and how she took a train from Houston to New York and was essentially homeless, she said.
Yeah.
And to just work hard, continue to show up, and to get to where she is today is just absolutely amazing and really, truly inspirational for so many women.
She has a heavy crown to wear. I mean, she, I don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think, Kyrie is one of the most talented players in the league, the most scrutinized player in the league.
Right.
But she also still has to wear that hat of mom, stepmom, and guardian. And I thought the question that you asked about which is the go-to
Right.
is so important because she has to choose.
Right.
There's not a either or, it's an and situation. And for her to so gracefully know what her role is with him and how she's been able to navigate it and continue to build it and build the agency to now taking over so much of the business with Anta
Yeah.
and seeing his new colorways drop. It's fascinating how quickly her role has evolved in his business life and how much steering she has done to help elevate it and bring it to the next level.
For sure. And like just being able to, separate the, being a mom side, but then also being a professional agent side. And for her, she does a really good job with Kyrie because he has had a ton of media attention and he is so true to himself. And she was on that and she loves that about him. And I love that about him as well.
It's honestly, it's such big shoes to fill. It's incredible.
It really
and I
is.
really can't wait to see what she does next. I can't wait to see what the next version that Kyrie has. The creative direction he's doing at Anta is great. I love the colorways, but I also love seeing her thrive in the business world as a woman in sports and how she commands such a presence. It's inspiring to me. I want to feel what I felt from her. I want to be able to give somebody else and feel. So I'm so fortunate we were able to have her on her table today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We love each and every one of you. That's it for us at Her Table today. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Good American, keeping us fit. Love our Fits for Success dry bar, kept us feeling beautiful. And we also love Tina's Vodka and Wild Collective. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, tune in, and we'll see you guys next time here at Her Table.